Hi everyone, Alex here. Continuing with the Revit multi-trade course. Today we're going to link an architectural background and we're going to create some exterior walls. We're going to start creating a brand new project from a template. We're then going to be checking and modifying levels, Revit levels. Then we're going to link an AutoCAD background. Then we're going to create some exterior walls. And throughout the video, I'm going to explain to you a very important concept, a crucial concept in Revit, which is the difference between types and instances. See you in Revit. Alright, so I'm going to fire up Revit by double clicking on the application icon. And I'm going to go under Models, New. And I'm going to start a new project based on a template. And from here, they give you two main options, either Imperial or Metric, multidiscipline. But if you want to dig in a little bit more, you can go to Browse. And in my case, I'm under English Imperial. And I'm going to start with a residential default template. I'll click Open and OK. And then notice that with this template, you get several views out of the box. Right? You have a first floor electrical, second floor electrical, etc. The first thing I'm going to do is double click on this elevation icon so that I can check which levels this template brings. And I can see that it has a basement level. We won't have a basement, but we will have a crawl space. So I'm actually going to rename this. And now it's asking me if I want to rename the corresponding view. I'm going to say yes. And now I got this view that was called basement is now called crawl space. We won't have a second floor, so I'm going to delete this level. And it's giving me a warning that all the elements that are associated with second floor are going to be deleted. That's fine. We don't have anything associated and we don't even have a second floor. And I'm going to bring my roof level down to, let's say, 14 feet. And I'm going to go back to my first floor. And I'm going to open an existing floor plan in AutoCAD. And you'll notice that that AutoCAD file has some exterior walls, some interior walls, some room names, and a little bit more information, and I also have some dimensions. Also notice that the background in AutoCAD is dark, and therefore the colors of the elements may be a little bit brighter. So let's close out of here. I also have a section looking west through the building, and here I can see that I have several levels, so I'm going to have to create and modify some levels. But just to get a general idea, I have a grade. I have a gray tile floor down here. Then a little bit higher, I have a wood floor, which seems to be the main floor of the house. And then I have my base of roof. So based on that, I'm going to take this to my other screen. And I'm going to open my south elevation. Let's make our crawl space -2 feet. Let's change our scale so we can see a little better. Make it 1 inch. Let's make our top of footing for now -1 foot. And let's make the bottom of footing -2 feet. Shift this up a little bit. We may have to remove 1 or 2 of these guys. Let's make the bottom of footing -2.6 just to have it separated from the crawl space. And then we'll figure it out. So we have bottom of footing, crawl space, foundation. Let's temporarily remove this foundation level. And let's make the top of footing -10 inches. And we will adjust this as required. For now, I'm gonna call my first floor main wood floor. And I'm going to actually rename the view. And now I'm gonna go back to my main wood floor plan. I'm gonna do zoom all by double clicking the scrolling wheel. And now I'm gonna bring in that AutoCAD file. So I'm gonna come to Insert and I'm gonna link CAD. And now I'm going to select that file. And when I select it, I have a few options here to choose from. I can either preserve the colors, I can make it all black and white, or I can invert the colors. I'm actually going to invert the colors because the background in AutoCAD was black. And now for this tutorial, I'm using a white background. So maybe inverting will be helpful. I'm going to preserve in case I want to turn something off. I'm going to auto detect the units. And I'm going to keep it origin to origin. And I'm going to bring it in my main wood floor level, just because that's the main level of the house. Most of the area is at that level. And I'm going to click Open. And there we go. That's the outline of our house. I want to take a little bit of relevance away from this background. So I want to make it half tone. In order to do that, I go to Visibility Graphics Overrides, VG, and I come here to Imported Categories, and here it is, Floor Plan, Existing, Main. So I'm going to turn it halftone. Okay, that's pretty good. And now what I'm going to do is simply come here to Architecture and just start drafting a very generic wall. I'm going to keep this 6-inch. I know the outside walls are a little bit thicker, but it doesn't matter. I just want to sketch out. And I want you to notice something. If you start drafting walls, by default, the center line of the wall is what's going to drive your wall, you see? But that's not what I want. What I want is I want to align to my exterior of the wall. So notice that when you click on the wall command, here on the location line, you have the option to change from wall center line to core face exterior. And what that does is that if you are drafting your walls, then you ensure that that's going to the exterior of the wall. So I'm going to do that. In this case, since I'm going up, I would like to hit the space bar to flip the wall. As I mentioned before, I know that the wall is actually thicker than that, but I'll change that later. For now, I just want to trace the outline. I'm going to disregard all this measurement. Actually, for now, I'm just going to turn them off. Typically, those walls are in a dedicated layer. And if you want to find out a little bit more about it, you can click on your AutoCAD file and then go to Query and then click on that dimension. And now we can see that this is placed on a layer called A Annotation Dimension 48. And actually, we can hide in view right here. So let's go ahead and do that. Much cleaner. Let's delete our previous walls here. And now instead of going to wall again, I'm simply going to do click and do create similar with CS. Again, I'm going to do spacebar to flip my orientation. And what I'm doing is simply tracing the outline of the building. And then hit escape and escape one more time. I'm going to do escape one more time. And now I want to show you a concept. If you go to wall, and let's do, for example, a generic 8-inch wall, right? So I'm going to draft one wall here, another wall here, and another wall here. This wall here, the family is called basic wall, and the type is the generic 8-inch. Okay, if I click on this wall, this is also the same type, and if I click on this wall, this is also the same type. If I want to change this wall from an 8-inch to a 4.5-inch, I can simply drop down, let's say interior 4.5-inch partition, and then only this wall, the selected wall, would change. Okay, I'm gonna hit undo, and now let's assume I want to change this to a 14-inch wall. I don't have a 14-inch wall here, right? But what I could do is I could edit the type. So standing on this wall, if I go to edit type, notice that my width is locked, right? It's grayed out, and that's because it's being driven by the structure. So if I click on the structure, I'll see that my walls has one layer that is called structure, and that layer is 8 inches. If I click on that and I change that to, let's say, 14 inches, and I hit OK, and then let's say I rename this to be consistent because I just changed this to 14 inches, right? So I will rename this to 14 inches, and I hit OK, and then OK again. Notice what's going to happen. I'm going to hit OK, but first I'm going to drag this out so that you see what happens. Even though this one is the one that I'm selecting, once I click OK, not only this wall changed, but also this other two walls changed as well. Why? Because I edited the type of wall, not this particular wall. I edited the type. So now if I click on this wall, since this wall is the same type as this wall, and I modify this type, I modify this wall as well. So now this is a generic 14. So I'm going to undo that. And the right way of doing this is you click on that instance, you go to edit type, and then you want to duplicate so that you don't affect the original type. So you come here to duplicate, and then you have a new name, let's say 14-inch. You click OK, and then you go to the structure, you modify it to be 14-inch, and then you click OK and OK. And now you modify only this wall. Why? Because you created a new type. Now you could go back to, let's say, this wall and only change this one to generic 14-inch. So now that we know that, I'm simply going to delete these 3 walls. Now let's take a look at how to create custom walls in Revit. Just a note to say that if you're watching this, you're not currently on our BIMitUp platform, so you may be getting only partial content. For exclusive BIMitUp training material, you want to visit BIMitUp.com. Subscription to the website is free, with some paid and some free content. We're trying not to run ads here, so the creation of the content is made possible, mostly by the contribution and support of our subscribers. So if you enjoy what we do here, please consider becoming one. You can do so by joining our Patreon community at patreon.com/BIMitUp, or by simply scanning the QR code that you see on screen right now. And if you're really serious about your professional training, you can book some live training at BIMitUp.com, or by simply scanning the QR code that you see on screen right now. Thank you, and I'll see you next time.